Hello and welcome back. Today we are taking a look at the brand new Masters of the Universe Chronicles Battle Cat Fighting Tiger from Mattel. So this is part of Mattel's brand new Chronicles line of figures from the upcoming Masters of the Universe film. This being Battle Cat, which is more of a deluxe figure and hitting at a slightly pricier price point of between sort of £30 and £40, depending where you're shopping from. He comes in the same box art style packaging we've come to see with these Chronicles figures, with the black background, the artwork on the side in that curved packaging. We get the character's name in Eternian down one side, deluxe articulation promotion at the bottom, Battle Cat window box packaging showing the figure within. The top has an embossed logo of the Masters of the Universe. Bottom is our legal and barcode. Side is some Battle Cat artwork. And then that back is some really nice artwork of Battle Cat with a He-Man figure as well, although it does clearly note that the additional figure and accessory are not included. We get a couple of product shots of the Battle Cat as Cringer and Battle Cat. We get a brief bio and a cross-sell for some other figures in this wave. So, without any further ado, let's get this figure open and take a look at it. Okay, the box is all glued in. Let's just take that, slice that down the side. This one. So the figure is actually tied in the blister box and to the back of the cardboard. So you can see the box insert is still that red and orange artwork of Castle Grayskull. Our figure is strapped in with some of those god-awful cable ties. Let's cut that out and let's get the figure out. There we have Battle Cat out of the packaging. As you can see, the mask popped off, so let's take it. It's made of quite a solid plastic, single colour, fully moulded with some nice detailing. It doesn't appear to be exact to the film, or at least the artwork. So as you can see here, there's an edge to the sides of these masks, which isn't there on this one. And I think the artwork around the eyes and things is a little different, so I don't know how accurate this is going to be to how it appears in the film, but it's not a bad mask by any means of the imagination. And that appears to just slide onto the face like so. It doesn't really stick or grip, it's just a friction fit, and maybe not the best friction fit in the world. Joints feel quite tight. Let's get him stood up. So there we have him. Battle Cat comes in at nearly a foot long, about 11 inches, and is about 7 inches tall. So it's quite a it's a very big figure. There's a lot of weight to this figure as well. We can see the harness, saddle, that's the word I'm looking for. Jeez, I can't believe I blanked on that. The saddle is done again in a single molded color. I like the molded detail throughout this. There's a lot of really nice molded detail. However, I really would have liked to have seen some of these details picked out with some additional paint apps. If you look at the artwork, these are clearly supposed to be metal loops and belt buckles, etc. Given the level of detail that's been going into these Chronicle figures, I really would have liked to have seen some paint app on this. I don't think it would have been too out of the question. Just to bring out some of these smaller details. It's nothing sort of that makes or breaks the figure, but given this deluxe price point, it would have been nice to see. But it's as I said, it doesn't necessarily make or break this figure. The straps do appear to be able to be removed, so you can unclip at the bottom, unclip the harness here, and that all comes off and over. So then we are left with Cringer himself, and it's really nicely done. I really love the molded detail throughout on this. It gives some really nice green fur effects. The different tones and the way it's blended has been done really, really well, especially around the side of the face here and under the chin. The yellow paint apps aren't too bad. I do feel that in some places they could have done with an additional coat. You can see some of the greens coming through. I don't know if that's intentional or not, but you can also see that some of the yellow isn't as bright and definitely needed a second coat. But for the most part, you know, a lot of this yellow is hidden with the saddle and the masks, etc. So you don't see a lot of it, and I can't imagine many people opposing this without the saddle. But it is worth noting, there does appear to be quite a bit of articulation with the figure. So let's first off look at the head sculpt, which is, wow, that's an amazing head sculpt. I'm just going to say that. That's gorgeous. I love those eyes. They look, I don't think it's showing up on camera, but they do. They look really lifelike. The eyes aren't actually painted on. They're separate pieces sunken into the back of the skull with a clear plastic over the lens to give it that lifelike appearance. This is a really, really nice head sculpt. The jaw does articulate, and we get a fully painted interior mouth. And depending how you have that jaw articulated, it gives the character a lot of different expressions. You know, he looks quite sort of somber here, but you know, here it's a little fiercer. And I think if we put the mask on, it will also change how you read that figure. I mean, here suddenly with the mask, with that focus now on the eyes and the jaw, it looks very, very fierce. He looks sort of a little more stoic and even sort of angry here. So that's really well done. I do like that. We get the molded detail for the ears coming back. Black paint app for the jaw. So as I said, there is some really nice molding detail and paint apps on the figure itself. It's just some of those yellow points which needed a second coat. Articulation wise, we've seen that the jaw is hinged, as is the neck. I think it's on a tilt and swivel rather than a ball joint. Maybe it is on a ball joint. No, I think it's on a tilt and swivel peg. So you do get some up, you get down, you get a rotation. Then the base of the neck is also on a joint. Again, I don't necessarily think it's a ball joint, but there is some sort of rocker there. So you can get some real upward movement. You can get some downwards. Coming down the body, there is joints in the torso at 2 points, so you can get a little bit of movement there. It is limited a little by the sculpt of the body, but that does allow for some additional posing. The tail is on a peg and swivel, so you can get the tail posed as you need. Maybe would have been nice if we could have had that as a wired tail, just so you could move and pose it as you wanted. But the pose itself isn't bad in any means whatsoever, and it still looks pretty decent no matter which way you pose it. The legs all appear to have this. So actually, no, they're slightly different. The front legs are hinged at the shoulder points, so you can get those. In theory, you can do it a full 360. They do tilt outwards or in. There is a swivel and a rotation at the elbow point, and the same for the paws. The hind legs actually have an additional articulation point, so we get the same level at the thighs. Then there is a swivel and peg at the knee, the heel, or the, I guess maybe the back of the shin. Again, has an additional ankle point, while the ankle has the same movement as the front. So there is a lot of articulation here. You can get him really into a lot of dynamic cat-like poses, whether you want this as Battle Cat or Cringer. Get him stalking there. Really, really nice. I am really enamored with this figure. It looks fantastic. It feels fantastic in the hand. It feels weighted. The articulation is fantastic. It all feels tight without being overly tight. It's exactly what you want it to be. My only real complaint is this saddle. I just wish there was a little bit of some paint apps just on a few of the points, just to bring it out a little bit more. In fact, I may, after this, actually quickly add some paint apps to the silver, where there should be some silver, just to give it some life. Getting it, there we go. So getting it back on is simple as feeding it back through. You can then make it as tight or as loose as you want it to be. There we go, that all sort of fits in nicely. I wish there was a tighter friction fit for the mask. You can see that that does. There we go. That sort of isn't quite as tight as you might want it to be, which is a shame. but it's not too bad. There we go. I absolutely love this figure. I think it looks absolutely fantastic. Now, I don't have the Chronicles He-Man yet, but I do have the He-Man from the Masterverse line. And you know what? He doesn't scale that badly. You can sit him on if you wanted him to. So he's riding that. So that does work. I will bring in Skeletor from the Chronicles line, so you can get a sense of scale there. And they do scale well together. So you get a sense of scale there, and you can see that the Chronicle figures are also going to fit on to this Battle Cat quite nicely. Additionally, I also happen to have the Masterverse Battle Cat, and you can see the size difference between the two here. So these are in the 6.5 inch scale, and this is in the 7 inch scale, so it's quite a bit bigger. This one comes in at 14 inches, so that's 3 inches bigger, and a bit bigger height wise, but not by much. This hat always actually fitted on a lot tighter. I would have liked to have seen that done here, but it is what it is. Articulation wise, this certainly has a lot more articulation. The articulation is a lot tighter on the Masterverse line and doesn't have the same range. You only get one. Oh no, you do get both swivel points here at the body and the torso, and maybe that does allow a little bit more movement there. But yeah, that's the two. Overall, I think I do prefer this one. And while the face mask fits on better, and this obviously has a lot more of a cartoony appearance, there's something about this one. Weight-wise, actually, they feel about the same, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, I definitely prefer the movie version. Everything just looks a little bit nicer. Joints feel a little more movable. So there we have the Chronicles Battle Cat. There we have Chronicles Battle Cat. Brilliant figure, definitely worth the price point. If you're getting into the Chronicles line, I would highly recommend this figure. But there we have it. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Until next time, stay safe, and remember, freedom is a right, not a privilege.